Greetings, gamers. I'm Bedroth.
And I'm Shukapow.
And you're listening to Very Good Music,
a VGM podcast.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode 2-2. As we get into late September and start to feeling what a COVID fall feels like, we have sort of settled in the Bedroth household to our new routine of work and Shukapow home with me 3 days a week doing his 60% at-home high school regimen.
Yay!
And me still working from home for the foreseeable future, officially till October and probably until December. That's how long Shukapow is supposedly going to be doing half and half high school, but we will see. Who knows what 2021 holds. All that we know is that it won't be 2020 anymore, and so there is at least that going for it. But on to the subject at hand, which as always is what, Shukapow?
Very good music.
And the very good music that we have today is of a special variety.
Yes, it is.
Those of you who either haven't really paid too close attention when Shukapow and I have discussed it occasionally on the episode, or who are not familiar with the Super Marcato Bros video game music podcast, might not have known what to think when you saw Five-Finger Fanfare pop up in your feed today. On this episode, we dive into a topic first popularized by Karl and Will Bruegeman, the brothers who host the long-running, I think it actually has the most episodes now of any VGM music podcast by over 100, I think, the Super Marcato Bros video game music podcast. This compositional technique is what the brothers have dubbed a Five-Finger Fanfare, and it was featured on the show's 201st episode, which aired all the way back in January of 2016. So that shows you how far they have come. They have been doing this for a long time. But seriously, the Marcatos were probably the second video game music podcast I discovered after Legacy Music Hour, and they have been a huge inspiration to me. A lot of what they covered and how they talked about video game music gave me the sort of chops and the knowledge of the genre that I really needed to host my own podcast. So, guys,
ooh, and now we're here.
Yes, we are. And I kind of like the familial aspect that they had too, which is part of what inspired me to ask if you wanted to host this with me. So, guys, if you're listening to this, we really appreciate you, and thank you so much for not just the inspiration, but for the use of your kind of trademarked topic on our episode today. I talked to Karl online, and he actually also gave us permission to use a clip from their episode, which is great because they can explain the Five-Finger Fanfare a lot better than we can. So, let's get into it.
we're going to be studying a very interesting compositional technique that you hear all over video game music, but it's very specific. Now, the reason why we call this episode Five-Finger Fanfare is we're going to be playing pieces of music that, for the most part, all start with the first 5 ascending notes of the minor scale in a very specific way. Obviously, if any song is in a minor key, which a lot of recorded music is, you're going to use those notes of the scale. But what we're talking about, Will, you're such a good singer. Can you quickly sing for the audience what we're talking about, the first 5 notes of a minor scale?
I'd be happy to. I'm getting cold feet. No, I'll do it. So, what Carl's talking about, the first 5 notes of the minor scale, what we're talking about is they're happening in sequential order. So it would be, in that case, we played in with Dear Friends, but it's ya da 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 da. So it's just the first 5 notes of a minor scale. So all, pretty much every track we're going to play today starts with it. There's one track that has it sort of
in the bridge,
in a B section. Yeah.
But the bridge starts with that. So it's not just that it's featuring those notes, but every single one, except for I think one track today, literally has that rhythm, da 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 da, and it's starting off the melody on that series of those series of first 5 notes of a minor scale.
Now, Shukapow, my songs today do not fit that exact rubric. Most of the time, the 5 notes of the Five-Finger Fanfare in my songs do come sequentially in that same rhythm. There is one exception, but except for maybe one of my songs, none of them are actually at the beginning of my song. They're kind of partway in. What about yours?
I sort of have a mixed bag here. Some of them are really prominent, some of them are sort of like midway, some of them are more inconspicuous.
And this is something that once you listeners hear this, you're going to start picking it out of everything. This was an exciting and challenging episode to put together, and the track list is a result of many months of making mental notes each time we would come across this thing in the wild. It's not exactly something, that you can type into a search bar.
Wild Five-Finger Fanfare appeared.
Regardless of that, though, everything does still fit our number 1 rule, which of course is, everything has to be
very good music.
Exactly. Before we get into my discussion of the play-in track, special thanks to our Patreon patrons. Alex the Messenger, who has an endless literal wealth when it comes to generosity toward video game music podcasts, and is also the host of a VGM Journey, which is a spectacular video game music podcast in and of its own right. We also have the Last Rican, who I first became acquainted with on the Rhythm and Pixels podcast, where he and I are both patrons. And Rican, we are very excited to have you on board. We also have Skeletroy, who I would also like to thank for creating the amazing theme song that you now hear adorning the beginning and end of every episode. And finally, Carlos, Kung Fu Carlito, who not only did some of the artwork for our show, but is also the host of his own podcast with his friends Michael and Marty, which is called Heroes 3. It's an Asian cinema podcast where they talk about great kung fu movies and sort of tangentially related things.
Yay.
I was particularly fond of their episodes about Kung Fu Panda and the 1990s animated Street Fighter movie.
Yay!
Yep, good stuff. Thanks also to Ben the Dyad Dishman, as always, for our show's pixel artwork. And check the notes in the track listing for links to our patrons' projects, as well as some of those of today's featured artist. I have got some real bangers on this show today, Shukapow.
So do I.
A lot of these songs came from other video game music podcasts. I heard the song and I thought, hey, that's a Five-Finger Fanfare. And so I would make a note on my phone and send it to myself. And I would just gradually build up this YouTube playlist to the point where when it was time to actually cut it down for the show, I had a lot. And when I would cut songs, it would either be because the Five-Finger Fanfare wasn't really that prominent, or the song itself just wasn't as good overall of a song, even if the Five-Finger Fanfare was more prominent in it. So I am confident that you're really going to like all the tracks that I've brought today. I only know of one of your tracks, so maybe two. I'll be interested to hear what you have. What did you think of my play-in track?
That was very, it was very, like, I guess you would say, rockin'.
Rockin'. PK rockin'.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ow.
if you had to guess, what type of game do you think that came from?
Mega Man.
So, the name of this game is Jikyu Powerful Pro Yakyu Heroes. It doesn't really have a title, but when they played it on episode 412, when the Super Marcato Bros featured this series, after doing, I think, an earlier feature on it, and also just periodically popping in tracks from the series, they named this song from this 3DS baseball game High and Tight, which is a baseball, theme. But that's what they decided to name it. And man, it's fantastic. This was actually not on the Super Marcato Bros. Five-Finger Fanfare episode. The one rule that I gave to Shoot Kapow, besides that, it actually has to have a Five-Finger Fanfare in it.
And it has to be very good music, of course.
Of course. Yeah, that goes without saying. Is that it couldn't be one of the songs that they picked. Probably our favorite Five-Finger Fanfare song that was on that episode. And another one that's one of my favorites, I had to take off my list because you played a version of it last week. But yeah, so we don't have Koo's theme or Beware the Forest Mushrooms on tonight's playlist. The first track that you just heard is also by an unknown composer. There were a lot of really big name composers on this series when it was on the PSP and some other games. I think there was actually one game on the Wii from this series. This was on the 3DS. This series is published by Konami. This particular game came out in 2016, and our other track credits are going to be much more structured as they usually are. But that's enough about me. I really, really like this track. It is at super high inside, and of course the Five-Finger Fanfare is at the beginning of that sort of the verse part. The do 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 do. It's so good. Good stuff. What have you got for us first, Shukapo?
I have something kind of similar.
Okay.
It's from, actually, the series I just guessed, sort of.
Mega Man? Okay, I think I might know where we're going with this.
Without further ado, this is Gravity Beetle from Mega Man X3. And moving from Konami to Capcom, that was Gravity Beetle from Mega Man X3, released in 1995 by Capcom for the SNES, and composed by Kinuyo Yamashita.
Kinuyo Yamashita, yes. This is a great soundtrack. And, what's funny? I like all the Mega Man X games. I think X2 is probably my favorite as far as just to play. The Mega Man X definitely has my favorite soundtrack of the three of them. The X2 soundtrack is but the X3 soundtrack is really good. I'm not as familiar with it, and I actually have yet to beat X3, even though we have it on the Wii U. But I need to get back into it. I need to figure out what the boss order is and just sit down and do it. It's got some really good music in it. This is no exception. Why did you pick this out of the other ones? Like, why did you not eliminate this one when you had other options that you could use?
Other options?
Oh, did you not have like 22 options to pick from like I did?
Pretty sure that's only you every time.
Yeah. I guess that is kind of me. Well, anywho, what do you think made this one stand out to you?
I don't know. It's just the Five-Finger Fanfare in combination with that Mega Man X like style and quality.
I don't think I can say it any better than that.
Yeah, it's just it's got those guitars, and then it just
and it's had a little more time to like evolve from the Mega Man X guitar. What's interesting is that X and X3 each have like a single composer on them. I think X2 was almost like a scene of composers, so I wonder if it was like too many cooks in the kitchen type thing, and that's why the soundtrack is kind of... It's good, like it's very serviceable. There's nothing that I don't like about the music in X2. There's also just nothing that I really love, except maybe Crystal Snail's theme and Magna Centipede. They're both pretty good, but the other ones are, kind of I could take or leave them. I can't say the same about my next track. I have to say it's probably the most surprising one on my list tonight. I have very little interest in this series and very little knowledge of it, even though it took the world by storm a few years ago. And I think it holds the record for the number of game theory videos about it. Do you have any idea what series I'm talking about with those clues in place?
It's Fortnite.
It was a huge series. I know very little about it, and there's a lot of game theory videos about it. It's also
FNaF.
one that we do not... What did you say?
FNaF?
Yes.
The only thing that made that not Fortnite was series.
Yep. Yeah, because Fortnite's not really a series. It has a series of seasons, I suppose. But yeah, so the next song I have on the list is from the Five Nights at Freddy's series. But it is probably not at all what you're thinking. This is a very chill, fantasy-esque track, and it is from the game Five Nights at Freddy's World, which was released only on Windows in 2016. It was developed by series creator Scott Cawthon independently, and it was composed by Leon Riskin. Officially, the track was called 8-Bit Travel 1 when I found it, but when I eventually found it on a soundtrack, it was labeled as Fazbear Hills or Choppy's Woods, which I assume are the places where this track plays. It's very, very different in style from what you all just heard. And now, let's go ahead and get into it. That once again was 8-Bit Travel 8, the music from Fazbear Hills and Choppy's Woods from Five Nights at Freddy's World. And that was composed by Leon Riskin of Ionix Music. Riskin seems to be an indie composer, and a lot of his game credits seem to be for like mobile and educational style games. I really like his About Me section of his website. I'm Leon, composer and sound designer at Ionix, which I think he's the only person at Ionix, it's just him. But I've been in the sound industry for over a decade now, scored numerous commercials, games, and various multimedia projects. I always try to create something catchy and fun. My musical career started at the age of 5 as a pianist, and I've been squeezing melodies out of anything playable ever since. I offer good communication and fast turnaround. I also convert coffee to musical notes. Oh man. So yeah, and he is for hire on Freelancer, so anybody who is interested, I think I'm going to copy his website URL here and put that on my list. So this is the first official spin-off to the FNaF series. It's a turn-based fantasy RPG. Which, does that surprise you at all after hearing the music?
No. This sounds very much like a lot of RPGs, like especially SNES era, like Final Fantasy 2 or 4, I guess.
Yeah.
Tales of Fantasia, Dragon Quest, whichever one came out around that time.
I think that would have been like 5, 6, maybe 7. Anyway, they didn't come to the States for a long time, so. But yeah, it's definitely got that sound. Riskin really nailed that here. I haven't listened to a lot of the rest of this soundtrack, and I don't remember how I stumbled across this one. I think I might have just seen the image, it was just this bright and happy picture of all the FNaF characters smiling and hanging out together, and I thought, what the heck is this? And I clicked on it, not knowing at all what I was going to hear, and then I heard that do 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 do, and thought, yeah, it's pretty cool. So I added it to my list, and it made it through the gauntlet when I narrowed things down. So I must have liked it. But no, it's the most chill track of anything on my list. Do you have anything that compares to that as far as chillness?
I have Secret of the Forest from Yasunori Mitsuda.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is from a little game that we may have featured before on the show. Something about time and triggers and... anyway, let's just play the song.
And that was Secret of the Forest from Chrono Trigger, released also in 1995 by by Square for the SNES and composed by Yasunori Mitsuda.
All right.
It's not released by Yasunori Mitsuda.
Well,
just the music.
I have another track from 1995 on my list.
Wow.
Otherwise, I jump around a little bit. No, I've kind of already got mine in a set order. So we'll go to my next game next, and then we'll get to my one from 95. Oh, no, wait, it's like 3 tracks down the list. Anyway, we'll get to it eventually. We'll come back to 1995, which is apparently a good year for the Five-Finger Fanfare. When you first played this, I wondered where the Five-Finger Fanfare was, because, like, I know this song. This song is wonderful. It's a VGM classic. But I couldn't remember where it was. And then we heard it. So yeah, good job. Whereabouts in the song was that? So if anybody wants to go back and listen, they can kind of hear it.
Okay. Yep. It was at the 37 and 38 second mark.
Okay, cool. And I think at the end, if I'm feeling up for it, I might take out just the Five-Finger Fanfare from each song and play it as like a little Easter egg post-blooper reel on the track. So y'all will go back and listen and hear how it was implemented each time. So, Secret of the Forest. Is this the only like classic VGM that you think you have tonight? You've already got Gravity Beetle and this, so you're bringing out some of the biggest ones I could think of that weren't on the Marcato list.
Yep.
Okay. You don't want to spoil anything, do you? Okay. All right. I can deal with that. Let me see. We've had 3DS, SNES, PC, SNES again. Let me see what I've got next. So my next track was actually originally on the Genesis, but I am going to be playing a theme from the remake that came out in 2013 on the PS3, Xbox 360, and Windows and smartphone. Originally, Castle of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse came out in 1990, once again for the Genesis/Mega Drive, and I don't recall, I should know, but I don't recall who composed that one. The soundtrack is really good, as a lot of, really all of the Mickey Disney games I can think of from that era were. But this particular version had rearrangements of classic tunes and also new tunes, like I think this one is, composed by someone whose name you will know very well. From Castle of Illusion, the 2013 remake, this is Giant Apple Runaway, composed by Grant Kirkhope. That was Great Apple Runaway from the 2013 remake of Castle of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse, composed by the one and only Grant Kirkhope. What did you think of that, Shukapow?
Very Kirkhopian. Definitely very Kirkhopian.
Yes, that was Kirkhope channeling Danny Elfman at his very finest. That was so good. Kirkhope does really well with chase scenes. Like, I can just see this huge apple that Mickey is running away from rolling down the hill toward him. It's kind of got that classic Disney feel. Again, Danny Elfman is one of Grant Kirkhope's influences that he's talked about before. Elfman composed the music for Nightmare Before Christmas and some other Disney-related things that I think Tim Burton worked on. So, yeah, definitely got that feel. This was played on the, let me see, what was it? The guys from BG Mania covered this on their Grant Kirkhope Deep Dive that came out recently. That was episode 139. And when they played this one, I was like, do. Of course, it immediately got into my head. And then as I was humming it, I was like, wait, that's a Five-Finger Fanfare. That's going in the show. And yeah, this one was never not going to be on the list. I love the bouncy, big, cartoony feel of it. And yeah, like you said, very Kirkhopian. What do you have to follow that up, sir?
I have more Kirkhope.
All right. Well, on the Marcato show, they played several Nobuo Uematsu tracks, and so we got to hear a lot of how the Japanese did it. Looks like we're going to hear more of how Kirkhope does it. I have a couple of other Western composers on my list today as well, which that's kind of cool. That was a little bit by accident. I actually cut a couple of Western games because they just weren't as great as the songs I have on my list. So, anyway, what have you got from Mr. Kirkhope?
All right, from Banjo-Tooie, released in 2000.
Fantastic.
2000, yes. Released in 2000. Banjo-Tooie, released in 2000.
2000, yes.
By Rareware for the N64 and Xbox 360, and composed by Grant Kirkhope.
It was originally just on the N64, but later on ported, as so many Rare games were, to the Xbox 360 when Microsoft bought them.
Yes. This is Mr. Patch, Strange Wobbly Inflatable Thing. And that was Mr. Patch, Strange Wobbly Inflatable Thing, which is the actual full name of the song.
Oh my gosh.
From Banjo-Tooie.
You know, that was really similar. It's amazing how much similar it sounded, considering that he was using those N64 instruments. But I mean, even though it was similar, it was still definitely it was unique. It was different enough from the other track. You can't pigeonhole him. I mean, we've talked about, like, just last episode, we talked about his range. So that was really good, and nice use of the Five-Finger Fanfare. It's kind of buried in that whole string of runs, that not all of which are actual Five-Finger Fanfares, but there is definitely one in here. I'm listening with a critical ear tonight. That was good. You were like dancing around in your seat. So, it's your track. Talk about it some.
Alright. Well, I first heard this track in Smash when they added Banjo. I sort of, like, just, I mean, I liked it. Yeah. Yeah. There were definitely other tracks I liked more, like for ZZ Peak and Mad Monster Mansion.
Yep. And I mean, that version of the main theme that he rearranged for Smash is really, really good.
Yep.
So, yeah, I could see a
Banjo-Tooie Spiral Mountain, but whatever.
Oh yeah, I could see a Banjo-Tooie track kind of getting buried in and amongst those classics, kind of like Banjo-Tooie does. Honestly, it was. I didn't play it that much, but it was a really, really solid platformer. There are some people who say it's the best 3D platformer on the N64. Better even than the original. So. The last person who I heard really talk about it, I think, was Andre Seegers from Game Explain, who I don't remember if he said it was better than the original or if he said it was a little bit more, like, bloated and went on a little bit too long. But I know that he enjoyed both of them. He really loves this series, so that was good. That was very good music, Shuka Pal. Well done. Now I'm going to go in a very different direction, and I'm excited because I get to feature another system that we don't really talk about very much. We may not have played anything from it yet so far on the show, and that is the MSX. This was one of many, many computer systems that I just really don't know that much about from back in the day. I should have done a little bit of research on it beforehand, but if you want to learn more about the MSX and about this game in general, you can listen to Pixelated Audio's episode 128 when they covered this game, which in Japan was called Psycho World when it was released in 1988. Then later, when it was released on the Sega Master System and Game Gear in 1991, it was called Psychic World. This game, I don't really remember anything about. I'm going to read the synopsis here after we come back because it's pretty fun. And the cover art for the European version is just amazing. It's straight 80s. You should totally look up Psycho World European box art just to see what I'm talking about. The game, or the track rather, doesn't really have a fancy name. It's just called Stage 8. But it is a nice little track, and it's going to be fun getting back into some chip after all of this FM and Redbook stuff we've been listening to. So, without further ado, this is Stage 8 from Psycho World. Taking place at a remote laboratory in the year 19XX, a three-staff research team consisting of Dr. Knavik and his assistants, the twin sisters, twin is in all caps for some reason, Cecile and Lucia, is studying the exploration and usage of ESP, extrasensory perception.
PK Fire.
One day, while Lucia was getting ready for work, an explosion burst from the lab. By the time Lucia got there, Dr. Knavik was alright, but Cecile had disappeared.
It was Combustion Man's fault.
Dr. Knavik explains that part of his experiments involved running tests on a variety of monsters, but eventually the subjects rebelled and took Cecile with them. As Lucia follows the monster's track, Dr. Knavik gives her the ESP booster, a device he created that will enable the user to wield psychic powers. But this is not a JRPG set in, not the United States. Definitely not the United States. This was a platform game, and everything about the aesthetic, from what I understand, is straight 80s. Did you look up that box art?
No.
I want you to do it, like right now. Psycho World European box art, because I want to get your live reaction. But that was Stage 8 of Psycho World. For anyone who is interested, there is also an FM version of this. That was the PSG version. We talked about that a little bit back, I think, on the Swords episode when we
Why
played...
did it come up with Breath of the Wild?
I don't know. We played a couple of tracks. I don't remember what the track was, but it was submitted by fan Utopia Nemo. So go back, listen to our Sword Songs episode, look for the part in the lightning round that was submitted by our listener, Utopia Nemo. And yeah, we talked a little about PSG and FM and the difference between those. I don't remember all of it right now, but FM sounds more like SNES and PSG sounds more like NES. That's basically it. So, but what was the word you used to describe that one, Shoot Kapow?
Groovy.
Groovy. I think that's going to be our thing for this season. Is what was the word you used to describe that while we were talking about it? Oh, just so I don't get accused of stealing your lines anymore. But yeah, groovy is a good word for it. It had a nice kind of kicking groove to it, and that triangle bass. Really good. The Five-Finger Fanfare also is very prominent because it's repeated like and then it's like that harmony, like I don't know if you would call that unison or if it was actually harmonic thirds. I'm not exactly sure, but it was really good. I liked it. It was a nice upbeat little number as well. Have you found that box art yet?
I think so.
What does it look like?
Is this it?
Actually, no.
Weird. I can't find the box art.
Psycho World? Or did you Google Psychic World or Psycho World?
Psycho World.
Okay. And I actually Googled Psycho World European box art.
Yes.
Okay. And if I get a little bit choppy, everyone, my apologies. Apparently, as we found out last week, when I go and look up other things on the computer, sometimes my audio cuts out. Alright, Chukapau, come around here. And describe to the pod world what you see. Is that it? Was that the same picture that I said was not it?
Basically.
Okay, I'm sorry. Maybe it's just my old eyes not seeing anything. Look at that. That is so, like that jumpsuit is so 80s. That is a terrifying dragon monster thing. Look at that. What do you see there? What is chasing her?
I don't know.
I can't tell if that's a dragon or a lion, but it's green, and it has a golden mane, and it also has a red dragon snake thing and a blue dragon snake thing coming out of its head like horns. Oh, man. Straight with the grid background, and then she's running down this like metallic tunnel with fire lasers going through it, and everything she's wearing like this pink dress, but with silver armbands and leggings and knee-high pink boots. It's all very 80s, and it's so wonderful. It's so great. But go ahead and sit back down so your audio sounds fine. Thank you for indulging me, son.
Yay.
And thank all of you for indulging me out there in podcast land. What do you have for us next, Chukapau?
I'll just go with Stone Valley here.
Okay. As you've already heard on the show at least once, but that's okay because it's a great song. One of Chukapau's favorites from one of my favorite games. And yeah. What game is this from again, Chukapau? Just to remind them.
It's from Pokemon Snap. The first one we can say now.
Yes! Yes! The first Pokemon Snap! Oh, I can't wait. Oh, it's gonna be great. Oh, I can't wait. And what's the name of the song one more time?
Stone Valley.
Such a fun little jam.
Yeah, this feels like if Grant Kirkhope composed Mystery Dungeon and it was on the N64.
Well, you would know that better than anyone. I just can't get away from... It's got kind of a Spanish feel to it. It's also got that the good, the bad, and the ugly, which is like the quintessential Western, or one of them. The whistle, the doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, that's totally from that movie. But what's so funny is the Five-Finger Fanfare in this song, it almost sounds like somebody went to the composer, who will tell you who it is in a minute, and said, the song's really good, but can you throw like just a splash of trumpet Five-Finger Fanfare in this one part randomly here? But it's got such a good song. I love it. And I cannot hear any songs from this game without immediately picturing the stage because I played it so much when I was a kid. And it's so wonderful and amazing. But tell us about the track.
Okay, so I never really played much Pokemon Snap. I think I watched you play some on the Wii when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
But...
I actually meant, before we go there, we didn't actually ever say all the track stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I know we just said it like 5 episodes ago, but still, go ahead.
Yeah, Pokemon Snap was released in 1999 by Nintendo for the Nintendo 64. Oh, yeah, HAL Laboratory was also there.
Composed by...
Ikiku Memori.
Yes, Ikiku Memori. And you were saying, you never really played it much, you watched me play it. We have it on the N64.
We have an N64.
Oh, sorry, Virtual Console on the Wii. My bad. I wish we had an N64.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Used to have an N64. Even after I sold all my stuff, your mom and I acquired an N64, and I got some games from a friend, and I gave it to your Uncle Zachary. I'm pretty sure that he still has it.
Huh. Neat.
Yeah, I played it a lot. Especially back at that time, WWF No Mercy, I played a lot. Really, really great wrestling game. There were some fantastic wrestling games on the N64. We're not talking about that. We're talking about Pokemon Snap.
Yay.
What else do you have to say about this?
Well, the track has good trumpet in it, and I like me a good trumpet. I play trumpet. I love composing with trumpet, and just trumpet.
Yep. Trumpet. I don't know if anything I have left tonight has a lot of trumpet on it. There's something recently. Oh, I think it was because I was editing our last episode and remembering that Mirror B theme.
Oh,
there was
yeah.
some great trumpet on that theme.
Oh, man.
Yet another Pokemon spin-off. Coliseum was on the GameCube, I think, not the N64. Anyway. Good stuff. Alright, well, actually, I promise I wasn't doing this on purpose, or I wouldn't have gone back to Pokemon after mentioning it, but speaking of pro wrestling games... My next track is from Zen-Nippon Pro Wrestling 2, 3-4 Budokan, which was released in 1995 and developed by Natsume. Do you know what series they may be most famous for developing nowadays? It's about farming, and it's not Harvest Moon. I mean, it's not... Dang it! It's not Stardew Valley. It is Harvest Moon. That's Natsume. And yeah, they made some really awesome wrestling games back on the SNES. This is actually the third and final game in the Zen-Nippon trilogy, and one of the earlier titles was localized on the SNES in 1994 as Natsume Championship Wrestling, which is a real cult classic. I actually never owned it. I got into wrestling games on the N64, but there's a lot of mad love for this game on the internet. But, Nippon Pro Wrestling 2, which is actually the third one, was released in 1995. It was composed by one of these amazing composers who we don't talk about enough, but Hiroyuki Iwatsuki, Iku Mizutani, Kinuyo Yamashita, or Haruo Ohashi. This is the theme of Jumbo Tsuruta. That was theme of Jumbo Tsuruta from Zen-Nippon Pro Wrestling 2, 3-4 Budokan. Composed by one of those four amazing composers who I mentioned before we came to the track. And man, I didn't listen to this track all the way through when I was picking through it, because I heard two different occurrences of the Five-Finger Fanfare, and I think there's actually 3 in it. And maybe 4, but it's so good. And the first one, that do 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 do, it like breaks it up. It's like, it's not do 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 do, and that's really cool. That's probably the most unique that I have it tonight. What did you think, sir?
Wow.
Oh man, I wish we could have gotten your live reaction, because a couple of times you were just like, oh, this track is incredible. Oh, hopefully our listeners know us well enough by now to know I'm not making that up. And to know that you're probably just kind of really zoned in on something else over there. What are you doing tonight?
Final Fantasy IV.
Still Final Fantasy IV. Maybe by the time we record our next episode, it'll be Final Fantasy VI. Speaking of our next episode, we don't exactly know what it's going to be yet, but I think we might have a pretty good idea. So we already have some of our ideas for this season. For a couple of teases, Dusklight is coming back for an episode, and Prof. Jeff is coming back for an episode. And we already know our season finale will be another two-parter. Another sort of comparison/contest episode. It's actually also going to feature a special guest, but we're not ready to talk about that yet. However, a couple of our episodes, actually 4 of them, we left totally up in the air because we wanted to see what you all would think of them. So I have a poll up. I will have a link in the show notes. Shukapow has also shared it on Twitter, or will have by the time this episode comes out. And until the end of September, you can go and vote for what will be our next episode. That's not going to give us a whole lot of time, so I probably will pick the front runner when we absolutely have to record. This episode is going to come out on September 22nd, which means the first episode in October will be on the 6th of October. So, yeah, that's not going to give us a whole lot of time to prepare. So, we'll see. I might actually cut the poll off at the end of that week, after this episode comes out. So, yeah, I'll go ahead and say it. This will be up until Saturday the 26th. I guess I need to go and modify that now. But, go and vote. We have a series of topics up there that Shoot Kapow and I both would be interested in doing. And so far, one of the ones that he picked is the front runner. And I'm not sad. I'm pretty excited because I think there's going to be some really cool songs there. Before we transition to Shoot Kapow's next track, I did want to talk a little bit about this game because all of the Nippon Pro Wrestling games were based on actual Japanese wrestling back in the day, and there was some really cool stuff going on over there. Jumbo Tsuruta is one of the real wrestlers that this game features. He was born in Makioka, Yamanashi, Japan, on March 25th, 1951. His real name was Tomomi Tsuruta. He went by Tommy, apparently. And he wrestled for All Japan Pro Wrestling for most of his career, and is well known for being the first ever Triple Crown Heavyweight Champion, having won the PWF Heavyweight Championship, the NWA United National Championship, and the NWA International Heavyweight Championship, and unifying the 3 titles. He is also known for being one half of the first ever World Tag Team Champions, with Yoshiaki Yatsu having won the NWA International Tag Team Championship and the PWF Tag Team Championship, and unifying the 2 titles. So, yeah, that's him. Seems like a pretty big dude, especially in Japan. And not stereotyping there, on average, they are shorter than we are here in the States. Jumbo Tsuruta was 6 foot 6 inches. Big guy. But, so, yeah. Another of his ring names was the Terror of Yamanashi. And this is a fitting track for him, I think. I think seeing a wrestler come to the ring like this, I couldn't help but root for him. But, that's enough out of me. What do you have for us next, son?
Next up, I have the theme from Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Gates to Infinity titled Hazy Pass, which at first I thought was Hazy Maze.
Which is totally a Mario track.
Yeah, but...
And does not have a Five-Finger Fanfare in it. I'm reasonably confident. But this song apparently does. So.
It was actually featured in the Oddity Cave theme from Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX.
Oh.
And that's where I found out about it.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure if we actually heard it, because I did have to truncate that Oddity Cave theme a little bit for our track last week. So, if you did hear this before, well, it's very good music, so you can stand to hear it twice. If you didn't, then, what is it called again one more time?
Hazy Pass. right. And that was Hazy Pass from Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Gates to Infinity.
And beyond.
Yeah.
That was a 3-second and, by the way. I'm going to keep all this in, but this would be good blooper reel material.
Yes, it would.
That was a nice little track, man. I'm going to say one thing about it, and then I'm going to let you go, because it occurred to me, one of the things that separates Nintendo music from other music is just how good the composer's sense of melody is. If it weren't for that pan flute, this song would be like a lot of modern games, especially like the grindy type games, mobile games and stuff like that. Because the bed is good, it's serviceable, but it doesn't really stand out. But that pan flute is really good. It kind of carries that whole section. But then it goes into the section with the Five-Finger Fanfare, and it turns completely. And this is a really well crafted song. Now, you tell us about it. When did the Five-Finger Fanfare happen?
It happened around like the 40-second mark.
That one was a little bit hidden. You've got some sneaky ones tonight.
Also, apparently, a sword made of fire is more powerful than the Sword of Legend, because Final Fantasy
just has to be... You know what? Zelda did the Sword of Legend first. Not really, because they didn't talk about it as the Master Sword until Link to the Past, but still. Anyway,
It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
Yep. Alright, but talk about Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, because we're not playing a track from Final Fantasy tonight. The Marcatos took all those. When does this happen in the game?
I don't know. I've never played Gates to Infinity, but...
Oh, that's right. That's one of the ones you talked about wanting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Along with Super Mystery Dungeon.
Well, and now...
both of them are on the 3DS.
And now you want Mario 3D All-Stars.
Yay.
Which I do too, even though we already own all three of those games. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we might not because of the Wii. But...
Yeah, if I can't fix the Wii. And... I mean, we can still play Galaxy on the Wii U. But
Yeah.
Sunshine is kind of tied to that Wii. Yeah, we'll have to see. I fixed the Wii U.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to fix the Switch as well. So... Yeah.
You just need a good game card that works.
Yep.
So I mean, if anyone can give us a working game card,
if anyone has a working game card that you're willing to either give us or sell us for a reasonable price, let us know. Assuming I don't have it by now, since this is releasing in like 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks. I only have like 4 days to finish editing episode 1. We should wrap this up so I can work on that. Anyway, that was a good song. It was a very good song. My next song is also very good. It's also our second Mega Man-related song of the night. This is from a game called Mega Man Unlimited, which is a fan game that came out between Mega Man 9 and Mega Man 10. It sort of unofficially carried on the story of Mega Man 9, so it's kind of like a cool alternate history version of that. And from everything I can see, a lot of love went into this game. The guys from XVGM Radio actually featured this on their episode 55, which was called Mega Man Fan Game Music. And I've thought about doing that kind of topic as well, because there's a lot of great Mega Man fan game music out there. But they actually did that episode with the creator of this game, who goes online by MegaPhilX. He did not do this particular track, although he did do some of the music. But this track was composed by Kevin Fetsumfu, who goes by Symphony Kev online. And sorry if I'm butchering that name. The name of the track is An Unbreakable Will, and it plays in Occupied Wily Fortress Stage 2. And Shukapow, pay attention, because I think you are going to love this. Man, and when it took the loop right there around the 125 mark, that was a cool key change. Alright, we're back. That was Unbreakable Will from Occupied Wily Fortress Stage 2 in the game Mega Man Unlimited. What did you think of that, Shukapow?
That was quite good.
Do you think it fit the Mega Man bill? Does it deserve to be up there with all those other great Mega Man tracks?
Yep. It doesn't sound like traditional Mega Man, but it definitely meets that Mega Man standard.
Well, and it's not really traditional Mega Man. It was in that Mega Man 8-bit style, but it was definitely from a newer generation. I do think it sounds more similar to the stuff from 9 and 10 than it does to the earlier stuff. There definitely are eras of Mega Man music. Mega Man 1 kind of is in its own era. 2 and 3 are kind of by themselves. 4, 5, and 6 I kind of lump together in my mind. 7 and 8 don't exist. And then 9 and 10 also kind of have their own feel. Mega Man 7 actually does have some really cool music, and I haven't heard enough of 8s to be able to talk about it music-wise. I'm not a huge fan. I've now tried both of them, and I don't think I'm going to finish them. They're really hard. I did enjoy watching Dan play through them, though, the Phantom Mire. And I didn't get to see as much of his 8 runs because we've been so busy, but I'm interested. But I know he's enjoying himself this month because I think 9 is his favorite. It's either 9 or 10. He loves both of them, though. This game, as I said, was an unofficial fan game created by Megaphil X. It was released on July 14th, 2013. According to the game's creator, it was originally meant to be a hypothetical sequel to Mega Man 9, created before the official Mega Man 10. On his YouTube, which I will link to in the description, he said, this is Symphony Kev now, the composer, he said, "I'm a composer who's passionate about video game music. I believe music is at the heart of video games, as it allows us to form a much deeper emotional connection to the games we play. I want to move people with my music, the way so many of my favorite game composers have moved me. This is what I love, and if for some reason you feel inclined to support me, I'll gladly accept your kindness." As I said, I will link to his YouTube site, and he has a link to his Ko-Fi there. And yeah, I definitely would suggest dropping him some support. This album is also available on Bandcamp, and yeah, this was a very, very good track. I think that he accomplished what he set out to do there in making something that could move people the way the composers moved him. And I really like the way he described that. That's kind of the whole reason we do this podcast, is to share this game music that we love with other people. And what do you have to share with our fans next?
I have Kirby music.
Kirby!
But not the kind you would expect. This is actually a cutscene theme.
Kirby cutscene.
It's from Kirby Planet Robobot.
Okay. This game has some awesome music in it.
This plays whenever you encounter, before you fight, one of the reoccurring characters and bosses, Susie.
Ah, a boss with multiple occurrences. Does she have different music each time she pops up in the game, too?
Maybe.
We might have to talk about that sometime.
Maybe.
Anyway, so this cutscene, precedes your fights with Susie?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. What's it called?
It's called Susie Executive Assistant. And we're back. That was Susie, Executive Assistant from Kirby Planet Robobot, released by Nintendo and HAL for the 3DS in 2016 and composed by Hirokazu Ando and Jun Ishikawa.
2016. I think we have a couple of other 2016 tracks too. So apparently 1995 and 2016 were good years for this little thing that we're featuring tonight.
Yep, mid to late 90s and 2000s.
Mid-90s and mid-teens. And again, what we're featuring is the Five-Finger Fanfare, which showed up a couple of times in that track. And that was good. Liked it. It was, from what I know of Susie, which is that she's like a robot secretary kind of lady, sort of person. Anyway, this fit that because it had a little part in it that sounded like something you might hear in like an office waiting room, but it also had this kind of sinister, mysterious feel to it in some parts with some of the instrumentation.
Yeah, this definitely had that Planet Robobot feel. It, like, you know, the Haltman organization, like, invading Popstar and doing all the robot stuff. It definitely, you know, it had that feel.
Yeah.
And this entire track is, like, Kirby featuring Five-Finger Fanfare.
It really is. It's a very Kirby track. And you said this is like a recurring...
Yeah, the do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Oh,
that's
the
whole motif of the game.
Aw, look at you using the word motif. I taught you some stuff. That's so cool. It is, yeah. That's cool. That's cool. I didn't pick up on that at first. Nice. Well, we have brought some really great tracks. My son is rapidly bouncing up and down in his chair as he hums this song. It's a little bit unsettling.
It doesn't use the motif, but it's the best song in the game.
But he's not in his squeaky chair, so you guys can't hear it. Yay!
Yay!
All right. We played some really good stuff tonight. What has been your favorite track so far, do you think?
I don't know. Probably this one, I guess.
The Kirby one?
Yeah.
For me, I think so far it has
to be that Mega Man one.
I really like that wrestling theme. Still, I think that one impressed me the most while I was listening to it.
Or that Psycho World theme.
It's all been really good. The Banjo-Tooie theme you brought was really great. Of course, Gravity Beetle is a classic. It's all really good. I'm really curious to hear what your playout track is going to be. And I'm also interested to see what your response is going to be to my last track of the night, which is the one we're playing next. To a lot of VGM fans out there, the name Bad Apple for a song is going to trigger some memories in them, because this is a pretty big deal in VGM circles and some of the adjacent pop culture circles. Bad Apple is the 7th track in the soundtrack of the 1998 bullet hell video game Lotus Land Story, which is the 4th entry in the Touhou Project series. Do you know anything about Touhou?
No.
Spelled Touhou. And it's an independently developed series that they're good games. The music is incredible. And the composer / developer / producer, the guy who makes the games, has said on the record that he really makes his games as vehicles for his music. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we come back. I, at first, had the chiptune version of this on my computer, on my YouTube list. But then I went down a rabbit hole, actually connected to another video game song, which is Dance Through the Danger, the vocal tune from Shantae Half Genie Hero, which is performed by the voice actress for Shantae, whose name is Christina V. She is a renowned voice actress. She's done a whole lot of stuff. She's been in Pokemon. She's been in that Ladybug show on Netflix. Of course, she's Shantae. She's done a lot of stuff. And she recorded a vocal version of this song about 10 years ago that was like the official vocal version for a long time. And then recently she teamed up with YouTube cover artist Rashad E.B. and did both an English version and a Japanese version of this song. Rashad E.B. specializes in metal covers. So this is a metal vocal version of Bad Apple, which was originally a chip-sounding game from Touhou 4, Lotus Land Story. And it was originally composed by Jun'ya Otada, who goes by the name of Zune, and is also the one-person team behind Team Shanghai Atlas, who developed the game. All that to say, this is Rashadi B and Christina V's version of Bad Apple, and this is the Japanese lyric version. I hope that you all enjoy. And that was Bad Apple from Lotus Land Story, the fourth entry in the Touhou Project series, originally composed by Jun'ya Oda and performed by Rishad E.B. and Christina V. I will have links to all of their stuff in the show notes, and I also have links to all the other stuff we've talked about today in the show notes, so please go and check out and support the artists who we featured on the show today, and also our wonderful patrons. I also want to mention a little bit more about Bad Apple. The theme was originally designed to be played during the third stage of Lotus Land Story as chiptune on the Japanese NEC PC9800 computer platform at 161 beats per minute using a frequency modulation synthesis chip. That's FM. That's now you know what FM means.
I heard none of that, and I understood none of it either.
Wow. It will mean more to a lot of our listeners who are kind of more into that stuff. It would be nice if you would hear some of the things I'm saying now, at least.
Well, I mean, I heard it.
If you don't understand.
I heard it, but I didn't understand any of it.
But I also will feature the chip version underneath our talking so that people can kind of hear a little bit of it. It's a good song. It is it's a classic for a reason. It's also notable and gained some fame outside of BGM circles because much later it was remixed by Masayoshi Minoshima and singer Nomiko, following the remix and subsequent accompanying black and white shadow puppet video. And this video, the Rashadi B and Christina V video, is actually also in that sort of black and white shadow puppet style. It's really, really cool looking. Team Shanghai Alice is Zune's self-publishing independent company. It's based in Tokyo, and since 1995, Zune has self-published and independently developed the Touhou Project Bullet Hell series, which has, I think, upwards of 10 games in it now. that he has made all by himself along with all the music. It's like if Toby Fox, all by himself without help, had made 10 Undertales. Although Undertale is a little bit more in-depth than your average bullet hell shooter, but still.
Yeah.
He has also collaborated with various circles in the production of other related works. Prior to 2002, he called himself Zunsoft. Get a little pun there. And then later changed it to just Zun. Rashadi B is a guitarist and producer who specializes in arranging progressive metal renditions of well-known video game, anime, and television music. And Christina V, as I have already mentioned, is a well-known voice actress and an accomplished singer. She has some really great stuff on her YouTube channel as well, so I encourage you guys, once again, check all this stuff out. All that said, Shukapow, what did you think of this song?
I mean, I thought it was sort of like Doom meets Shantae.
Yep, not too bad of a comparison there. I'd be interested to hear what you thought of the original. In fact, let's see what you think of the original. I'll bring it up. So, what do you think of the chip version?
It's very good. It's very different, but very good.
It is. I think other than that main melody, it's a very different presentation for sure. But I think that the chip version makes it a little bit more obvious why I picked it for a Five-Finger Fanfare episode. Yep. So, good stuff, good stuff. And I think we've actually kind of talked about everything peppered out through the episode, so we're not going to have a super duper long outro this time, which is kind of nice. Is there anything that I forgot to talk about, Shukapow?
Not really.
And where can our listeners find you on the interwebs?
I'm on Twitter at Shukapow, and I'm also on Flat.io, and I go by the title Lloyd Irving for Smash, and it will stay that way until Lloyd Irving gets in Smash.
Well, if anything, I know that Pernell from Rhythm and Pixels is with you, because on their last bonus Patreon episode, which was about characters we want to see in Smash, he said that he's totally with you. Lloyd totally deserves to be in Smash, and who cares if he's another sword character, because he has 2 swords. Gosh dang it. I also want to humble brag a little bit. My pick for who I wanted to be in Smash, Bonk, who my brain kept wanting to go other places, but then it kept kind of centering back on Bonk like a compass needle. He ended up taking the victory, I think. Bonk was the character who made it through their little tournament that they set up of all the characters, and he's the one who won. So, if Rhythm and Pixels has anything to say about it, Bonk will be in Smash. Oh, I really am curious who they're going to do for... Don't they still have like 4 characters to announce for this second Fighters Pass?
Actually 5.
Oh yeah, because there's going to be 6 in this one, and they've only done Min Min so far.
Yep. It's probably the next one's probably going to be a Mario character, to be honest.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Waluigi or someone else.
Watch it be Nabbit instead of Waluigi. Oh man, or like Toad finally, or maybe Wart. Although really he'd be like a what do you call it, Neko fighter for K. Rool. But he would probably have a completely different moveset. K. Rool doesn't spit bubbles out of his mouth. But I don't know, it'd be interesting to see. I personally think that either the next one or the one after that, they're going to go ahead and come out with their Gen 9 Pokemon rep. And I still, if I were betting on anyone, it would be Rillaboom.
Well, you mean Gen 8?
Yes. I thought you said it was Gen 9.
No, I said it was Gen 8.
I'm going to trust you. You're the Pokemon guy. We've been through this like 3 times on the podcast so far. But anyway, yes, I still think it's going to be Rillaboom from Pokemon Sword and Shield, just for noobs like me, who only know them by their actual names. And I just think it fits, because you had Greninja, who was the 3rd evolution of the Water Starter from Gen 5. Then you had Incineroar, who was the 3rd evolution of the Fire Starter from Gen 6. No, I'm behind a little bit. Incineroar was Gen 7, right?
Yeah.
Greninja was Gen 6.
Mm-hmm.
And now you'll have the 3rd evolution of the Grass Starter from Gen 8, Rillaboom. It just makes sense. Anywho, plus he's the one who makes the most sense out of the three. He'd be the coolest character to have in Smash. And look at that, we've figured out a way to bloat the final segment of this completely differently. So, it looks like right now the episode topic for next time is still up in the air. But I do plan to get back to the previews, starting with this next one coming up. Sorry for the lack of previews on episode 1 and episode 2. I've just been super, super busy with everything, but you can expect a preview next week for the next episode when you'll find out what the topic is. But the last thing we have for you tonight is Shukapau's playout track. So, son, tell us a little bit about it.
My mage just died. Like, canonically in the story.
I am not familiar with... Oh, you ran into like a plot point.
I'm mad now.
Aw.
That was a good character.
Alright, everyone, this is kind of a meaningful moment. Shukapau is doing his first playthrough of a Final Fantasy game. It is Final Fantasy IV, called Final Fantasy II on the SNES.
Well, I mean, he was a kind of good character.
Tell us what just happened.
Okay, so I'm at whatever this place is. It's like a... I don't know if it's the moon base or not.
Well, location's not super important. What's the name of the character?
The character's name was Tewa, and he was a sage, and then he used PK Starstorm and died.
Aw. So he, like, sacrificed himself for the party?
No, it was revenge for purposes.
Oh. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know the story of this game very well, but it's reminding me of another, like, famous death in a Final Fantasy game that, like, happens in-game canon, and you can't just... Yes, okay, you already know. And you can't just, like, use a Phoenix Down on them for some reason, because plot magic is stronger than Phoenix Downs. But, yeah. Aw, he just wiped his eye a little bit, but I think that was sweat, not tears. Anywho. Alright, so, now, Shukapau, what is your final track of the evening?
I have Clash from Fire Emblem Path of Radiance.
Didn't we already play this?
Maybe?
I think it was in the Swords episode that I already mentioned tonight.
Well, yeah, but that was last season.
Yeah, just like Stone Valley. I thought you were going to play that Mother 3 track that was originally on my list, but then I gave it to you. You know what, maybe we can play that one under the blooper reel.
Alright.
What was it called? Like,
no eating crackers in the cinema.
Yeah, there's some good Five-Finger Fanfare in that. Okay, yeah, I'll play that under the blooper reel. And we can finish out with Clash, which you've already heard us all talk about, so I don't have a whole lot to say about it, but it is a great, great example of Five-Finger Fanfare. So, and I did tell you that the rule about repeats was no repeats in the same season, so...
Path of Radiance was released in 2005 by Nintendo for the GameCube and composed by Naoko Mitome.
Yes, it was. And it is one of the best GameCube games, one of the best Fire Emblem games. Really, really great story with a great star in Ike. And... Ike! Big sword boy.
Mr. Game & Watch.
Yeah, the biggest sword in the game until Ganondorf brought his sword to the fight. Alright. Well, okay. Everybody, I hope that you have a good rest of your day or night or drive or workout or whenever and however you're listening to this. And one more time, special thanks to the Marcato Bros, the Super Marcato Bros, Will and Karl Bruegeman, for letting us borrow their topic for this evening. It was a lot of fun exploring this unique musical structure with you tonight, Shukapau. Until next time, I'm Bedroth.
And I'm Shukapau.
Play very good games, be very good people,
and keep listening to very good music. And moving from Capcom to
Blooper reel. And
that was very just
I'm leaning in for the adjective. Okay, Taz. This is... What is it? I did not record the track name. Oh.
No, it's not a mimic. It's a giant dog made of fire.
Carbon Dog?
Hopefully not.
Well, let me know if it turns into Diamond Dog.
Alright, I'll do that.
But now, I'm recording.
Ya da 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 da